That was Halifax Mayor Mike Savage speaking earlier today. Mr. Savage in Ottawa right now with the Federation of Canadian Municipalities. Now, as chair of the Big City Mayors Caucus, he's also pushing Ottawa for more action and details on priorities like housing and infrastructure. And with that, as you can see, we're now reaching out to the mayor of Halifax himself. Hello, Mike Savage.
Michael, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm really glad that you're here. Now, you are in Ottawa right now, taking part in the FCM's annual advocacy days, and housing, it seems, is a huge priority for you. Talk to us about the challenge and what you're hoping to hear from Ottawa while you're here.
So housing is a big challenge, both in terms of housing supply writ large, but also particularly in terms of homelessness and people who have no place to sleep at night. So I would say it's the issue that keeps mayors awake the most, is this issue of housing. And we appreciate a lot of the initiatives of the federal government, but the need is so significant. We want to know exactly what's going to be in the Housing Accelerator Fund, which is a $4 billion plan announced by the federal government. And we want to talk further about what other supports we can have for people, particularly those who are sleeping rough, who have no place to go. So these are also issues we need to have discussion with provincial governments about. The feds have been very accessible in terms of us being able to talk to them. We met with Minister Hussein this morning. We met with Minister LeBlanc this morning. And so those are important discussions, and we're just looking for some details on how do we help people that need housing.
Okay, let's break that up, beginning with the Housing Accelerator Fund, because as you said, this price tag of $4 billion announced in Budget 2022, a lot of money that's meant to bring about tens of thousands of housing units, but it does fall on cities, on municipalities to take the ball and run with it. So what exactly do you need to see from Ottawa, hear from Ottawa, to turn those dollars into housing?
Well, there's a number of initiatives that slow housing. You know, it's not approvals from municipal government right now. It's other factors. It's the lack of supply. It is the high cost of borrowing, which impacts developments. In our city of Halifax, we have tens of thousands of units that are approved for development, and cities have to be responsible for their part of the bargain. We have to be prepared to do everything we can to assist the housing crisis in Canada. So the Accelerator Fund could help us do more things digitally. This could be support directly to municipalities that could take us from some manual processes to digital processes to speed up housing. It could be to hire more planners to get more work done, because we all have a role to play in this situation now. And most Canadians, particularly those who don't have a house to live in or don't have a decent rental unit to live in, they don't really care whose jurisdiction it is. They just know they need a place to sleep, and we all have to put our shoulder to the wheel and do everything we can to provide housing for Canadians.
Mm-hmm. And then you also mentioned for those who are chronically homeless, which is a separate issue than the Housing Accelerator, to my understanding.
Very much. So there's a program the feds brought in a few years ago called the Rapid Housing Initiative, which goes directly to municipalities who can then decide how do we quickly get support for people who need it. So in Halifax, as an example, Michael, we've been able to create more than 130 units for people who need housing quickly. So we work with our provincial government, who provide the wraparound support. We work for our not-for-profit sector. There will be a former motel opening up in the next couple of weeks on the Dartmouth side of the harbour in Halifax, which will house, I think, 60-some people who have a lot of needs. And that can only happen with all orders of government. So it was the federal Rapid Housing Initiative. It came to the municipal government. The municipal government identified being a partner in this hotel. And then it was the provincial government. It was the service providers. In this case, it's the Affordable Housing Association and the North End Community Health Centre doing amazing work and providing support and critically providing the wraparound services that people need to be successful and to have a decent life once we get them into a properly housed circumstance.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Now, you also talked about infrastructure in your meetings today, greening Canadian cities being one example of it, and the critical role that the next budget will actually play in that. So what do you mean by that statement, that the next budget will be important?
Well, it's very important. So we recently, the feds announced their national adaptation strategy, which we've been waiting for some time, which has been really important. And $530 million of the 1.6 billion that the feds have committed in that program will go directly to the Federation of Canadian Municipalities Green Municipal Fund, which can be used for a variety of projects. Halifax has used it for years, for example, in Solar City, which is a program that lets people put solar panels on their roof and pay for it over time on their property tax bill. But we need more. So FCM had called for $2 billion into a fund that's called the Disaster Mitigation and Adaptation Fund. We got almost $500,000 in that. We think $1 billion a year. So it was a good start. I think even the government has said there's more coming in the next budgets. But, I'm the mayor of Halifax. We had Hurricane Fiona rip through Atlantic Canada this year. These are not normal weather events, or they weren't. Unfortunately, they're becoming normal now with climate change. And so all cities of all sizes, all municipalities of all sizes in Canada need some support as we mitigate against and adapt to the changing circumstances of weather. And so these are really important programs from the federal government, and we're encouraging them to do more.
I have less than a minute here, Mayor Savage, but I do wonder, because the cities, the municipalities are coming, asking for more clarity, for more money, amongst a number of different lobby groups that look for that type of money. So, and I don't mean to be rude by asking this question, but if Ottawa coughs up the cash, what do municipalities bring to the table?
Well, municipalities bring to the table the ability to get stuff done. We've shown what we can do when the support is provided, and we'll be a partner. So in Halifax, again, to use Halifax as an example, we have a very ambitious climate plan called Halifax. And we're collecting property tax dedicated to climate, so we're doing our part. But as you will have heard from mayors in the past, cities are responsible for 60% of the infrastructure. We only collect 10% of the taxes. We need to make sure that all of our infrastructure, particularly critical infrastructure, bridges and roads and the buildings that we're building, are built for the future, that they are sustainable. And if we don't do that, then we're going to continue being behind the 8 ball when it comes to severe weather events. So cities will be an effective partner, as we always have been, in getting stuff done on the ground level.
Mayor Mike Savage, really appreciate the time. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Michael.